right, writers, can you find a stopping point and join me back on the floor? To wrap up the lesson, I brought the students back to the floor, and in this case, this share was a little bit different than what we're usually accustomed to. They are very used to getting a checklist when we begin a unit, and they use that for goal setting and also to self-assess their own writing. Since the memoir unit is a combination of multiple types of writing, multiple genres, in this case the students are using a checklist of narrative and opinion, and they're creating their own memoir checklist. So we spent time working on the first section together so that they could see what that looks like and feels like, and then they would go off with their writing partners and discuss how to kind of merge those two together and make a memoir checklist that they'll then use throughout the unit for assessment and for goal setting. All right, writers, so normally in our units, you've become pros at using our checklists, right? And you've used these to assess your writing and to set goals and find evidence for that. So you're accustomed to using the narrative checklist to check your narrative writing, the informational, and then we also use the opinion checklist to check your argumentative writing. Well, in this case, we've determined that memoir writing is a little bit different than anything we've done before, isn't it? It's a little bit of a mix of the different types of writings. We noticed that when we looked at the structure. So in this case, I don't have a checklist to give you that's complete where I can say this is what fifth grade teachers think that students should be doing in memoir writing. Since it's a combination, it's almost like a hybrid of different types of writing. So what you get to do as authors and writers today is you get to make one. So we're going to look at a checklist, and I've already slipped this in your notebook, so can you pull that out for me? It looks just like this. Yours is just smaller. And I want to get you started so you understand what this process will look like. So we're going to do the first section together. We're going to do the overall before you leave the floor to work with each other. All right, so let's take a look at that. And what you'll see on this checklist is you see the overall, the narrative, what narrative looks like overall, and what opinion or argument writing looks like overall. But we know that memoir is a little bit of a mix of the two. So what I'd like you to do is read these two sections, and then I'd like you to turn and talk about what we might put here. What could this look like? What does memoir writing look like overall? What could we place on our checklist? And I also gave you some sticky notes in the front of your writer's notebook. You can pull one of those out and write down your thoughts, and then we'll share in just a moment. All right, so go ahead and turn and talk about those two sections and how they kind of come together for memoir. All right, so you've had a moment to discuss with your partner the overall section of our checklist for memoir. Give me a thumbs up if you noticed how it really is a combination of these two types of writing. I heard a lot of you mentioning the seed stories that we're incorporating, and then you were mentioning even names of memoirs that we've used. Sophie and I were talking about Quietly Struggling and Meredith and how that had reasons in it, which is mentioned in that checklist. All right, so can somebody raise your hand and share for me what you came up with when you kind of smushed these together and came up with something for the memoir section of this checklist? Kate, can you share what you have?
I wrote a story about an important moment. I supported it with reasons, but it read like a story. Underlying was a deeper meaning.
Okay, so I like that Kate included the deeper meaning there. Okay, what did you have, Ty?
So I sort of noticed that it was having both of the characteristics for opinion and narrative.
It's a combination.
And then, but it also had a theme or like a big message that it was trying to tell you.
And that's like Kate mentioned, the deeper meaning.
Yes.
Okay. Kate, can you bring your sticky note and place it up here? Just put it right there on memoir. Awesome, good. Okay, does anyone else have anything to add to our overall section of our checklist? Katie, can you share what you have?
I wrote a story of an important moment. I wrote with a deep meaning. It reads like a story, though it is a true moment. Your story tells who you are.
Good. I like that you mentioned the deep meaning and that it tells who you are. Can you come and add that to our chart? Stick it right there. Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we've now added two ideas for the overall section of our chart. And what you'll be working on is working with your partners to talk about the rest of the checklist. Once we've refined this and we've worked on filling in how memoir comes together with these two types of checklists, this will be your tool that you use throughout the rest of the writing unit. So you'll use this to assess your own writing and your memoir, and you'll also use it to set goals on the things that you need to work on. Okay, so this is going to be something that we build together, and tomorrow we'll come back together and place our sticky notes up for all the rest of the sections. One of the most exciting things about this approach to teaching writing is even though we're only in our second year of implementation, the growth I've seen in my students' writing is remarkable. Of my students, only about 10 of the 31 had gone through Writer's Workshop the year before, and most of them, this is very new to them, but their love of writing, they fell in love with it within the first few weeks of school, and just the work that they're producing and the quality of work that they're writing is amazing.